This is an exciting day. I wish I had the book in front of me, but all I can do is go like this, and Dr. Fuhrman will be my Vanna White today. Where's the book, Dr. Fuhrman? There it is, Eat for Life, the latest baby in the Fuhrman household. Every 2 years, you pop one out, don't you?
I'm very fertile.
Okay, so fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. And one of these days, I'm going to get Dr. Fuhrman to dance for me. Here we go. We're going to get to dance. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear. Bridges we burn. We make mistakes. Then we live and learn. When life gets tough and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And this is an exciting day because we have Dr. Fuhrman is back again. This is season 2020. So we're going to be looking at things with clarity because it's 2020. And so Dr. Fuhrman knows that when he comes on into the classroom, we also have questions, Q&A. So if you are live at Lillian's radio show, and this is your first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place that you can turn to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. And so I just got to ask you, guess who's back? Here's a hint. Have you had your G-bombs today? For those of you who are listening on podcast, do you know who it is? But if you're watching on facebook.com/Lillian's radio show, then you'll know that Dr. Fuhrman, best-selling New York Times, world-renowned New York Times best-selling author, Dr. Joel Fuhrman is here sharing his evidence-based research and teaching us how we can heal our body with a Nutritarian lifestyle. And he is sharing this as many times with many people that will listen to, taking ownership of their life, taking their health back. And so today we're going to discuss pre-orders for his latest book, Vanna, Dr. Vanna White here, with his book, Eat for Life, with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And I'm telling you, I had a glance of his book. I've got, now you're like Petey, you're stealing the show. And so today we're going to be talking about his new book and why all of us should pre-order and how to pre-order and some of the gifts that you get if you pre-order the book. But you'll get the scoop first here in the classroom. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I'm so grateful that Dr. Joel Fuhrman is here to do just that. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman, for being the teacher in the classroom today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on this month. And of course, the exciting, my book is now available for pre-order, and I've been working on this book for, you could say, decades.
Yes. And so why did you decide? I mean, you have what, 12, 13? I've lost count because every 2 years you pop out a new baby. And so like you said earlier, you are very fertile and you are sharing the good news. So what made you decide to write this book now?
Well, I've been working on it for a long time. I feel that, I had a lot of information I had to get out about various subjects, raising children, dieting, heart disease, cancer, a lot of, there's a lot of information I had to get, couldn't fit into one book. But then, and food addiction. And I've written books since, I think my first book was published in 1995. but now this is my last book.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's my last book. And I wanted to put a book together that people would say, what is a book that would, the one book people could read that encompasses the most important aspects of all your book, that's up to date scientifically with the most scientific references, and there's like thousands of scientific references in this book, to give people all the supportive evidence to make it bulletproof. And so to ascertain what is the healthiest way to eat for the human population, what's the gold standard of dieting. This is not a popularity contest, and that there aren't multiple good diets, and there aren't multiple right things. There's only right and wrong. And, in other words, I'm not saying that the Nutritarian diet is modifiable for people's individual differences, but the principles don't change. There's no radical, the point I'm making right now is that, is a Mediterranean diet the best? But so I want to give people all the information in one spot, the most current and supportive and the most powerful evidence to show that this is irrefutable and should not be controversial. The evidence is too overwhelming today. And of course, number 3, make it applicable for reversing disease, not just living longer, losing weight, all in one spot, and show a lot of results of people who've adopted this program with ability to reverse cancer, reverse autoimmune disease, and reverse very, very serious illnesses, including heart failure and cardiomyopathies. And, my broad experience of the last 30 years taking care of all different types of people with medical problems and the results that occurred. It's not, so that most of these illnesses, people can make miraculous recoveries or at least miraculous improvements. So I wanted to put all that in one place. So people ask me, okay, what's the book? If I have to get one book, what should I get? And I'm saying, okay, so get my last book. It's the final word. It has everything in it. It's called, obviously, it's called Eat for Life.
Well, although you say this is your book, the last book, unless you had your book tubes tied, I don't know if this will be your last book, because things do happen, there's always something that you have to say. You have been.
I've been a workaholic. It's been so many years of 30 years, seeing patients 60 hours a week, writing till 12 at night, working 7 days a week. I think I'm trying to, not getting enough sleep so I can get things done on deadlines all the time. I just think I'm still going to work, but I have to have I'm going to try to be a more normal worker.
I think
get enough sleep at night, have some time more for recreation, exercise, and still work. But the pushing out of books has really been a love for certainly. And I find it's something I had to do to get this information out. But I think I've gotten enough done right now where I can slow that part down. Yeah. And so I have no intention of writing another book, but you never know what could happen.
Well, you have this passion with the Eat to Live Retreat Center. And whenever you talk about the Eat to Live Retreat Center, it's almost like you're returning to the roots when you were like helping people in your basement and,
Exactly. That's right. I mean, there's so much of my own personal life. The whole reason I went in to become a doctor was because I like taking people that are in trouble and getting them well again. Yeah. And I love, and you're right. You help thousands of people, and I've helped, the hundreds of thousands of people that have read my works. Actually, I've sold multiple millions of books, right? I've sold several million books, let's say.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So when you think about all the 100,000 that have changed their lives and improved their health, but the ones that you see personally and the ones that you work with that make these dramatic recoveries are still are so dear to your heart to watch these transformations occur. And as you're right, I like when people who can't get well any other way, and they come to, instead of coming from an hour medical visit, they come and they stay with me, they get well. And I've done that in my career, like you were saying, when I just started my career. I had people living in my basement, and I had my daughters when they were little babies used to climb in bed with the patients, and they used to be, it was like funny. They'd be like people in my basement, and my kids would be in their bed with them.
Well, you've come a long way. You've come a long way. And I love how usually the books are dedicated to a member of your family. You've written so many that you have dedicated it to every single member of your family. But this book is dedicated to the people suffering with serious medical issues who were never informed that they could recover their health with nutritional excellence. The lack of information was denied them and inalienable rights. And so I love how you even say, okay, this is dedicated for you. These are my final words that I'm putting down. And I just want you to know that this is for you. You've done this all for everybody. So I want to acknowledge you for that,
Thank you.
Dr. Fuhrman.
Thank you so much, because that makes that people deserve and have a right to know this information.
Mm-hmm.
They can go ahead and smoke cigarettes or smoke cocaine if they choose to, but they have a right to know that they don't have to be sick. They don't have to take drugs for lupus and go on and have their feet amputated with diabetes and go on dialysis. They could have learned this and not had those tragedies happen. And nobody's telling them they didn't have to get that sick. They don't have to have those things happen. And I want to make it absolutely clear that everybody across America has to learn about this. And that's why I'm also excited about my opportunity on public television, because that's the message I'm able to give. And you came to the filming of the show.
Of course, I wanted to support you. You know, this was like the first ever where PBS made an exception, and you did this in front of a live audience, probably received more than 8 standing ovations during the time. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. But most importantly, I'm hoping that I'm in the video somewhere along the way, so I have evidence that I was there.
Yeah, but they keep scanning the audience and seeing the reaction. We could clearly see you in the program.
Good. Okay, so you know, in the book, and when I have a sneak little peek of the book, you talk about us being the cure. You say you are the cure, but so many people are suffering, and you go into a lot of detail of the percentages. You say almost 40% of Americans die of heart attacks and strokes. You don't have to be like them. And you give the quote, and you don't have to do this. We are the cure. We have the cure. So share a little bit more about that. A little bit more about those statistics and why we are the cure.
Well, basically, the American way of life is deadly and killing people left and right and causing an immense amount of human tragedy. And the medical profession is barbarically giving poisons to people that have poisoned themselves already with their diet. And the medical profession becomes the enabler, because then they're teaching people that, well, it's just aging, it's just genetic, and your answer is medication. They're not telling people that they don't have to be sick. They're not telling people that their MS could go away, their psoriasis could go away without taking a drug that causes cancer. They're not, a person has to be properly informed, and they have to have informed consent. And the medical profession generally, I know I'm generalizing, not every doctor, but generally most people are not getting proper informed consent and told when you're type 2 diabetic, you know, these medications can accelerate your death in some ways, and the blood pressure medications cause cancer. The statin drugs increase risk for breast cancer, but if you don't want to take the drugs, there's a way it can be done safely, and you can. And it's not like twice as safe. It's not twice as effective. It's more than 100 times as effective at extending lifespan. And these diseases can go away without taking cancer-causing substances. Yeah. And so people aren't informed. And even though I said about, you know, it's really like somewhere between 30 and 40%, maybe closer to 35% of people die of heart attacks and strokes. But if you're looking at people over the age of 70, then it's 75% of people in America over the age of 70 die of heart attacks and strokes. It's still by far the major cause of death is heart attacks and strokes in people who are getting older, you know, and then a lot of people get demented, or they're stuck in a nursing home where they can't take care of themselves, which is worse than death.
Yeah. And it's because, and dementia is happening earlier and earlier and earlier. And so people are living with all these diseases because pharmaceuticals are keeping them alive, but what kind of quality of life is that? And even with the pharmaceuticals, there might be some other side effects that can make their symptoms even worse. So I'm not saying not to take medications. I'm just saying that people are living longer with this disease.
I'm saying not to take medications. I'm saying that you should look to get well with nutritional excellence, and medications might be available for an emergency situation, but chronic use of drugs don't really. And I'm also saying that they're not prolonging lifespan. They're not making people live longer. The age of how long people are living hasn't changed in 40, 50, 60 years. It's the same. We don't have significant breakthroughs in lifespan from the average American. It's still around 78 years old. It's for 79 and a half for a woman or something. It's still in the same range that it's been for forever. It hasn't been. Matter of fact, we had some benefit in lifespan, a small blip benefit when doctors stopped prescribing estrogen for women postmenopausally. And that was because we saw a benefit because doctors stopped prescribing. You know, when we ever have doctors go on strike, and you have to see people living longer, not living shorter lives, and people aren't dying of emergencies when you need doctors. They're giving people drugs. The Accord study showed more diabetic medications meant more deaths. what I'm saying right now is, if we didn't have all these doctors and drugs available, people would be forced to look at their lifestyles, lose weight, and get in better shape. So doctors are, the pharmaceutical and industrial medical complex is an enabler for them, and reinforces the fast food industry and the processed food industry, and they work together, and they're not, and I don't necessarily agree that we're keeping people alive longer because of it. We're not seeing, even doing mammograms, we're not seeing in breast cancer interventions with chemotherapy and cutting off people's breasts, we're not seeing women overall living a lot longer because of that. The rate of death isn't affected at all. You just switch one cause of death to another cause of death. It's not.
Yeah.
The only thing that can have a major dramatic effect at extending lifespan is that people woke up and started eating vegetables and changed the way they eat. And that's what this book is all about. It's saying that it has these various components. That is there a best way to eat that's most effective at reversing disease, increasing lifespan, and giving you protection from all these things that could befall you, such as dementia and cancer? And the answer is yes, it needs to meet these criteria. It has to be nutrient dense, right? It has to have it has to contain a lot of the superfoods shown to have cancer fighting and immune supporting effects. You have to include those in your diet.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have the full variety of foods. It has to not be missing any nutrients that are important for human health in later life.
Mm-hmm.
It has to fully fuel stem cell maintenance and telomere maintenance that prevent the increased aging from nutritional imbalances. All these things, and it has to go through all the conflicting information and all the myths and nonsense that people do to try to convince people that their way of thinking or their diet is best, and they give you some mediocre solution, and they justify it with all types of crazy belief systems, and instead of really looking at the science in an unbiased and comprehensive manner. This should not be controversial information, because I'm trying to show in the books that this evidence is overwhelming and irrefutable.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I tried to say is that people are getting sicker sooner, and they're living longer with disease. So that's I guess what I really meant to say, because you're seeing people getting dementia earlier than in their 70s or 80s, being forgetful, and maybe having diabetes earlier in life.
Yeah.
And
if you want a good business to go into to make money, you can open up one of those rehab and nursing homes that accommodates people who are younger, because there are more younger people needing nursing homes, and they don't want to go into the ones that have all the very old people. So now they have new nursing homes make for people who have strokes, that can't take care of themselves anymore, that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And of course, in my daughter's high school, one of her classmates had a stroke. They were seeing, teenagers and people in their 20s and 30s have strokes. It blow your mind,
It is absolutely. It's very sad. Well, when you say that you want this last book to be the one people pick up, because this is your final, this is all the research that you've done up to now, and more accurate for people, more current. And
Yes.
so you go down to basics with this book. You talk about the Nutritarian principles. Would you like to share those real quick so that people understand?
Sure. Well, number one, we're first removing that myth that you can be overweight and healthy at the same time. I'm showing that it's impossible, that fat on the body is pathologic tissue and causes disease, and there's no such thing as an overweight healthy person. And almost all Americans are overweight, and it's about 90% of Americans are overweight. The 10% are of normal weight, probably 8 or 9% of those 10% are a normal weight because they either smoke or alcoholism or have drug use or medical conditions or medical
not healthy.
illnesses.
They're not healthy.
They're not healthy. The underweight or the normal weight people are mostly not healthy either. It's only about 2.5% of Americans are of a normal weight because they exercise and eat healthfully. It's a very small percent. So the first principle, of course, and we talk about what the biological effects of having fat on your body. But the first principle is that to maximally slow aging, you have to incorporate moderate caloric restriction, not excessive caloric restriction, just a moderate caloric restriction to slow the metabolic rate in the context of micronutrient excellence. So that's the first principle. It has to do with the nutrient density of your diet. And we're talking about a lot of micronutrient bang per caloric buck, which is the same thing as saying moderate caloric restriction in the context of micronutrient excellence. Micronutrients meaning our vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and antioxidants. And then the second principle might be comprehensive nutritional adequacy, which means it's not just enough to eat a lot of kale and strawberries and flax seeds. We need nutritional variety in our diet. We need a broad spectrum of nutrients. And we know that when you remove any one important group from the diet, you take a diet and because we know vegetables are the most powerful against cancer, but fruits and vegetables together are more powerful than vegetables alone. Mm-hmm. We know that, for example, you take beans out of the diet, we don't maximally, it's not maximum lifespan effects. You take nuts and seeds out of the diet, you lose lifespan. Then you remove a big food group. You take mushrooms out, you take, so we have an unprecedented opportunity in human history, given the modern growing methods, modern organic farming methods. We have frozen foods like frozen wild blueberries, and we can get different types. So the point I'm making is that we have an opportunity. Not many people take advantage of this opportunity, but we have an opportunity to do much better than the blue zone. I'm saying the blue zones are not diets to emulate. They're areas of the world where they live the longest, but they only are living on longer, about 7 to 8 years longer than the average American. They're not living that much longer. Mm-hmm. And they're diets that are people of food they grow locally, or they eat according to their customs and social structure of that area, of food they could access there. And it's not based on nutritional science. They're eating whatever food is in the area there, and it's just happened to be haphazardly put together to be better than what Americans eat. They've been eating it culturally for generations, and it's a healthier diet. But every blue zone diet has flaws in it. And we can look at that and establish what are those factors in every blue zone that's the most beneficial longevity promoting part of that blue zone, and what's the part that weakens it. In other words, we can structure a Nutritarian diet can be structured with a full portfolio of foods that blows the blue zones away. So we're not holding up in high esteem the blue zones because there are obviously areas that live longer, but we can do much better than that. And a Nutritarian diet does hit that mark, we do much better. And one of the reasons it hits that marks is because we achieve comprehensive micronutrient adequacy with a full portfolio of anti-cancer foods that blue zones don't replicate. For example, we don't know if the Okinawans, for example, eat wild blueberries and trumpet mushrooms, but we can, and scallions, but we're going to eat that stuff. Yeah. They just might eat a lot of sweet potato and, but in any case, the Okinawans live somewhat longer. But is it the pork, the salted fish? What are those? What making them live longer? Or is it the, whatever. The point I'm making is that this is much more scientifically investigated and supported than just picking the way somebody ate or lived a long time, like a Mediterranean diet, where they just happen to live a little touch longer than the average American, just another like a year and a half longer, or have a little lower rates of disease. We want to push the envelope 20 years longer, not a year longer. It's just, it's ridiculous what people start to call the Mediterranean diet a favorable diet.
And it's different. If you live in Europe, as in the Europeans or Italians, they don't really cook their food and fry it in olive oil. They use the olive oil very lightly. They do it differently. And so even in the United States, the food is altered. It's not altered in Europe and in Italy. It's not altered the way it's altered here.
They're not living longer. They're not living much longer in Italy than we are here.
No, but I'm saying that even the Mediterranean, as we think about the Mediterranean lifestyle, it's different. They walk everywhere. They have a different lifestyle, and
there certainly foods more natural foods than we are. I've been to a lot of places in there, and there's definitely more people buying produce, but still, nevertheless, this is cutting through those myths, trying to accurately evaluate what are the factors that leads to longer life. Yes. Okay, so that's the second principle. Mm-hmm. And then the third principle, which is actually probably number 2 in the book, is your diet has to be hormonally favorable. Yeah. If it's not hormonally favorable, you're in trouble. If you're producing extra estrogen or extra insulin or extra IGF-1 or so excess hormones age us. And of course, certain foods promote those hormones, and you can't have honey and maple syrup. People say, well, it's natural. Natural is irrelevant if you're eating high glycemic carbohydrates. And a diet of just being vegan or cutting out animal products, when you're eating a diet of brown rice and white potato, is not going to give you an opportunity to have the longest life possible, because you're not exposing yourself to the broad spectrum of anti-cancer nutrients. Yeah. And of course, we know that brown rice is contaminated with arsenic. But so the macrobiotic type diet that people ate in the past to fight cancer is not the best diet either. This diet is much more cancer protective, even if you have cancer. And plus, but in any case, it fixes those myths and all the misinformation. That's the most popular things are just toying with people's ignorance about these issues.
Yes.
And then, of course, the last principle, number 4, which is so obvious to be almost silly: avoid poisons, toxins, pathogenic bacteria. So in other words, it avoids things we know that are going to hurt us. And a lot of people are eating things with heterocyclic amines and nitrosamine compounds and arsenic and all types of cadmium. There's all types of acrylamides. There's all types. Everything. Fried foods are as carcinogenic. Oils are carcinogenic when cooked. So we're having, of course, people eating seafood that's contaminated with mercury, and we have microplastics in small seafood like sardines and clams and shrimp. So we're having our food supply is contaminated, and it directs people to eat non-contaminated foods and foods that don't have poisons in them. So that's obvious, and to strive for organic, and get it for good soil too. We're striving to have foods grown in better soil, and so I'm not pulling punches. I'm making and the other thing I really feel proud of that I think I've been such a groundbreaker in this field is making this stuff taste fantastic.
Oh, and it is. And you have some great recipes.
And I've been doing this for 30 years with great recipes. You know what I mean? So the diets that we serve at our retreat, I mean, even though people come there who are very sickly, we were always joking around and say people knew how good this food tastes. We're sitting at dinner. We'd say people just come here just for the food, even if they didn't have a problem, medical condition. Not they don't have to, but it's just so, we attract people that have to get well, but they're eating such great tasting food. And there's so many great recipes. And I highlighted that in the book too. So there's really no other book of mine. For example, I think that, I have recipe books with hundreds of recipes, but this book has over 100 recipes in it.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it so that this is really a very comprehensive book. So people they want just the one book, make sure they get everything that they need. And if they have diabetes, they could get another book or they could get something else. But there really is so much information is here that they don't have to.
Yes. And so before I ask you to share some of the stories that are in the book of people that have lost over 100 pounds and released and started their life again, I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com and become a subscriber. This is where we take responsibility. And some of the cases that Dr. Fuhrman will highlight in this book, has highlighted in this book, are people that are taking their health back. They didn't buy into, giving their power away. They took their power back and they followed a Nutritarian lifestyle, and the benefits continue. Don't have to diet anymore. And so I want to encourage you to become a subscriber at whenyouneedafriend.com, because then you'll know exactly who's going to be in the classroom before anybody else does. So you'll get a blog and it will link you. The links are all directly to all the teachers in the classroom. We also have a free gifts when you become a subscriber. But while you're at the on my website at whenyouneedafriend.com, click on to, follow, like all my social media, follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube. But most importantly, there's a button called sponsors. And when you go to that button, you'll see, Liberty Health Share, Keep Me Safe Organics, talk about keeping toxins out of your body. So Keep Me Safe Organics, First Alternative Care, Dr. Stephen Grable, the Pharmacy in Merritt Island, Live Longer Medical in India Atlantic, Ground Therapy, which I absolutely love. And you can become an enrolled student in the classroom by giving your time, your talent, your treasure. So help the classroom grow, and make sure you support our sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. So once again, Dr. Fuhrman, this will be your 5th year in a row. And I love the fact that, you have not missed a month. You have been so loyal for 5 years, since 2015. It's 2020 now. And you've got your new book. You're still, you've built so much momentum, and you're doing such great things. So I just want to acknowledge, I'm just very honored every time Dr. Fuhrman comes on in the classroom and is our teacher. So we're learning from the best. So Dr. Fuhrman, when I started looking at your book and I saw all these cases of people that you were able to chronicle and to highlight, so that if somebody says, 100 pounds, I could never do that, you show time and time and time again of all the people that have done it. So can you share some of your favorite?
And also, did you meet some of those people in person?
Yes, I want to have them in the classroom along with you.
Isn't that cool? That
Yes.
to the show, all those success stories came, and I was a little bit disappointed. I couldn't show them all on television, that I was expecting to, but at least they were all there, and we interviewed them, and I got it on video, and I got all these incredible people that traveled to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, people like Thomas. So here's, like, for example, opening up to page 148, Thomas Johnson, who had suffered with ulcerative colitis since he was 15 years old, and by the time he was 35, he was on medications and all kinds of drugs and antibiotics, and he was hospitalized. He dropped 45 pounds, and they were sick to, trying to save his life. At the age of 41, in 2012, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer, a classic seminoma, and he was given like a 5 to 10 years to, at least they were talking about 5-year survival or 10-year survival. Then he saw my show on PBS, and he said, "I want the 50-year plan, not the 5-year plan," right? So
and people get upset, Dr. Fuhrman, when you say this is a lifestyle change, and they get defensive, they get upset because they've been lied to. And so they think that that's the truth, that once you have a diagnosis, you become that diagnosis, and the only way to manage the diagnosis is with medication, and that's not real.
Well, to get to the punchline here of this long story, today at age 47, he has no cancer. It's gone, undetectable. And ulcerative colitis is gone. His allergies that plagued him his whole life is gone. He doesn't take drugs, antibiotics, medicine of any kind since 2012. He continues to live the life and enjoying his children, and he's never felt better, stronger, healthier, and more emotionally balanced, and his life's been saved. So just it's not a weight loss story, but it's so touching how sad and troubled this man was for most of his life until he was able to turn things around.
Can you show the picture of him in the book?
I can.
Yeah.
Look how healthy he looks, actually. I don't know if you could see it. It's a black and white photo. Too bad they couldn't put color photos in there.
That's today?
That's a more recent picture, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You have some other that have the before and after, which those are so dramatic.
Oh yeah, there's some of these people who look so great that then you would never have guessed that they were that heavy in their past,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Emily Bowler, she was just absolutely fun to meet again. She's been in the classroom. She's coming on pretty soon to talk about suicide and dealing with loss after suicide. And she is such a great role model to be able to have stuck to her commitment and still is making such big impact in the world.
Absolutely. So here's a guy, Martin, who lives in Florida. You can see his before and after pictures there.
I met Martin. I sat next to Martin.
Sat next to Martin? No, that's so
yes,
funny.
I sat next to Martin.
Because he was near death too. Another guy who was wouldn't be alive today. So, so he was, in 2014, at the age of 66, he had an enlarged heart, taking 11 different medications, obesity, atrial fibrillation, and then he developed a heart, what happened to him again? Anyway, he developed a cardiovascular emergency that he had to go into the emergency room in the ICU. He had to have emergency cardiac surgery. They didn't think he would survive. His heart valves were leaking so badly. In any case, the point is that this was a guy who had such bad heart disease. They thought he would never recover. And he read The End of Dieting. See, I don't think it doesn't say how he found my work, but the point is that he lost 120 pounds. Mm-hmm. The recipes are delicious. And 4 years have passed since his surgery. He takes no medications, normal heart rhythm, no irregular heartbeats, no valve or rhythm problems, no cardiomyopathy, no heart failure anymore, no edema, no breathing issues, no fatigue, lots of energy. Now he sleeps well. He weighs 146 with a BMI of 22 and a 32-inch waist. So the point is that some of these people, I have a lot of cases in the book that had multiple sclerosis and other significant illnesses, and sometimes they had multiple problems, like Thomas with ulcerative colitis and cancer. I have another case in the book with another type of, what was the second cancer recovery? I think it was a rectal cancer in the book, another one who had multiple problems, including, but it was But these people, when they all got together at the filming of the show, it was so good to get them all together in one place where they could share, where they all like shared this in common, that they used to be sickly and now they're all healthy in one place. It was like almost having a tremendous celebration. I felt that the filming of my show was a celebration of all these people who recovered their health and had these miraculous transformations occur. And that's made it such a touching situation to be filming the show under those conditions in front of all those people, with them all so excited about having these life-changing transformations happen to them. Didn't you feel that? You could feel the energy, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and there was so much pride, and you know, and to see you look at them, it was like a proud father, you know, that their children have come home to say thank you, and it was remarkable. And so we have a question from Victoria. She wants to know when the PBS special is going to air.
I'm pretty sure it's going to air the last week in February.
Oh, so they changed it. Okay, I thought it was the first, like February 1st or 2nd, but again.
No, I don't think it's the end of February, which I think is going to be around similar time when the book comes out as well.
Oh, okay, great. So it's going to all be together, and that's part of the draw, right? Is that the thing that people can, the pledge, people can get the book, or is it the Eat to Live?
Yes, if they support the show with a donation for PBS, they get 3 or 4 of my books, like these little
the bundles.
the book bundles with the Eat for Life book, of course, and the cookbooks and the 10 and 20 guides, and they get the videos. And
Love
they get
those.
And they get Zoom conferences to communicate with me on a regular basis. They get a whole bunch of different packages to raise money for the station, to raise money for keep PBS alive.
Yeah.
So over the last 10 years, I've been one of the largest fundraisers that supported PBS television. I was so excited when the PBS producer came out and told the audience, remember that, how much money my shows have made for PBS. I was even shocked. I go, wow, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's really, wow, I've been such a major, I'm so proud of that PBS television has, been supported by this works to such a large degree. So, right, they get those books. And we were talking today about pre-ordering.
And go ahead and share what people get if they pre-order.
Right, so I want people to go to Amazon and pre-order the book. And the reason why I want that to happen is because if the pre-orders are higher, then the bookstores look at that and they determine to buy the book and to put it in favorable locations in the store, and it gets put in the airport, and it gets put here. So it's all about pre-orders, basis how well the book's going to do. So enough pre-orders, the book does better. So that's why we're giving people extra things if they pre-order to encourage pre-ordering the book. So even though it comes out, they're not going to get the book till the end of February. They can pre-order and buy it now, which will help, obviously, me promote the book better. So we're giving them, so if we'll put out something on the web, and we'll put a page at drfuhrman.com. We'll be sending out a blast about this, explaining it. Mm-hmm. We'll put a page where you can sign up on drfuhrman.com. If you pre-order the book, you'll be able to go to that page, and we'll give you some of the book to read in advance. And I'll give you the Q&A from the book that was taken out of the book because it was too big, and they wanted to keep it under. They didn't want the book to be more than 400 pages, so they took a whole chapter out of it. So we're giving the missing Q&A chapter from the book, some of the information out. They'll give it to them, and we'll also give them a private Zoom conference where they can ask me questions about the book and ask me their own personal questions. We have a private Zoom conference just for the pre-orders too. So I'm having a lot of things I'm putting together to encourage people to pre-order it and not wait till it comes out, because it'll help us, get the book out there in the stores more.
Yeah. So we're not giving books away today, but we do have the pre-order. So go to Amazon.com, order the Eat for Life book, and then you need to show Dr. Fuhrman that you have ordered the book, and that's how you get. Do they just send is there an upload, or do they send an email to you with a picture that they got the book or that they've got the receipt? How does that work?
I'm not sure. I think that they just I think they just got to say they ordered it on Amazon. Uh-huh. and give their order number or something, and then they'll get to prove they ordered
Perfect.
it.
Perfect. I'm sure
they could order it from what's the other people that sells books on the internet, like Barnes and Nobles, or I don't know what it is, but the other people where they track it.
Sure.
See, if you buy it from drfuhrman.com, then it's not going to be tracked towards a bestseller status, and not going to be tracked towards the for the book companies knowing it's a bestseller. They won't know how many we sell. So I prefer them not to buy it from my website, but to buy it where it's going to be tracked in the early phases. You know what I mean? Later on, they can buy it from me and I can sign it for them and stuff. But now I want them, they can't get it signed because I want them to get the book from Amazon. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so just like Dr. Fuhrman has supported the classroom since 2015, it's time for us to support him. And let's get our books ordered on Amazon or any online location so it could boost everything up. Share it with Dr. Fuhrman, let him know that you've supported him, and you'll get a bunch of other free gifts as well. So win, win, win all the way around. So Dr. Fuhrman, before we, because I know that we're going to do a Q&A after the podcast. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, you can always join us at facebook.com/Lillian's radio show, and you can ask questions live. So I have a question. There's a couple of questions that we have that are associated with, the G-bombs, the Nutritarian lifestyle and vegetables. And so Kaya says that she has a question for you regarding beans, quinoa, and broccoli. She's saying she's having trouble digesting quinoa, broccoli, mostly after eating. So must be experiencing some bloating or discomfort. Could it be, could the same method of slowly introducing them into the diet be effective and helpful the way that introducing beans into the diet? So you talk about how to introduce certain foods into the diet. She says, I'm having problems eating beans, not just in just broccoli, or she goes, no troubles eating beans, just broccoli and quinoa.
That's right. I mean, dogs are better well adapted to eating meat than we are, but they're more of an omnivore carnivore. But if you take a dog and you feed them meat after they haven't eaten, if you fed them a vegan diet and then you put meat in their diet and they haven't eaten it for 10 years, they're not going to digest it well. Any food we're not used to eating, we cannot digest it well because the body takes time to learn how to digest a food, and that's the right way. The first thing is you have to liquefy the food in your mouth and mix it with saliva. People don't chew well enough. They swallow quinoa whole. They don't chew it and liquefy it. They eat too fast, and that's half the problem. So especially when they're talking about broccoli too. Broccoli is a gaseous vegetable. If you don't liquefy it and break it all down, you're going to cause a problem. You got to really chew it to a liquid before you allow it to be swallowed. And then eat small amounts.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have them titrate the amount that they can tolerate without being uncomfortable. But if they're doing it, they should feel it's okay to have a little gas from it, because then you're taxing your body's ability to produce bacteria to digest it better, but not excessive bloating or excessive indigestion. So they titrate to the amount where it's tolerable and keep doing that and chew it really well. And over time it gets better, and you can eat, and soon you're eating, within a month, you're eating double or triple or quadruple the amount, and you're doing fine. So whether that amount is a tablespoon or whether it's 3 tablespoons, figure out that amount that you could comfortably eat and keep doing that. Quinoa, there's great foods. Beans, quinoa, and broccoli are fantastic foods because quinoa is the most favored grain. It's intact. The dark quinoas are rich in phytochemicals and bioflavonoids, and they're high in protein, and it's the number one choice of grain, actually. So I want her to be able to eat that.
Okay. So would you, and I'm just asking because when you're talking about chewing the food, a lot of people don't know how to take the time and chew the food, maybe, because we're used to the standard American diet that doesn't require a lot of chewing. Right. And so would you consider, or should somebody consider that's having a hard time chewing their food, pureeing their food just temporarily until they start like a baby, like make it more like a puree?
I'd rather they didn't.
Okay.
I'd rather they practice chewing. It's good for the jaw, and keeps too much pureed food is going to lead to osteoporosis and atrophy of your jaw from not using it. But there's a benefit to mixing saliva and the bacteria in the mouth in with the food. It forms more beneficial compounds. You form more nitric oxides, beneficial effects for your heart. So I'm not saying you can't use a blended salad or vegetable juice in addition to your chewed salad and foods you chew, but I don't want people to be blending everything. I want them to be chewing and learning how to chew and using chewing as a proportion. So I want their mouth to be their blender. And then if they want to have some extra vegetables, they blend or puree or juice. It's fine, but they still got to eat the ones they chew to.
Very good. Okay, good. Okay, so Andrew listens from the UK. And so he said he loves listening to different podcasts, and he likes to listen to our podcast as well. So thank you, Andrew. He says, I'm listening to the Rick Roll podcast, and Dr. Neil Barnard is the guest. Dr. Neil Barnard says supplementing from DHA can potentially lead to increased risk of getting prostate cancer. And he said this contradicts, Dr. Fuhrman's point of view of taking DHA supplementation. I am now so confused on DHA. Please, can Dr. Fuhrman clarify? And he says, thank you in advance. And he loves the show. So
thank you. Appreciate that. Well, it's somewhat sad in the vegan community that people are they have this as a philosophy, and they're looking for reasons to justify their philosophies. Their bias is just so apparent. The point I'm making right now is that there's no studies that show that DHA is related to prostate cancer. There was a study that showed, first of all, if the person thinks that, they would investigate all the studies on DHA and prostate cancer, and all the studies on fish oil and prostate cancer, all the studies on, and we see that that obviously most of the studies, the vast majority of them show that exposure to DHA protects against prostate cancer, does not cause it. There was one study where they did a blood test on people later on in life, which determined when they used the blood to determine their DHA at the moment, not the DHA all through life, and to affect, at the moment. And there was this very slight difference in levels between those with more aggressive cancers and those with not. It could be that those who maybe knew they were sick or knew they had cancer started eating better. So they started eating better, they started eating some more fish because they started cutting out red meat and junk food. But we knew that was the case because the people who had more aggressive cancers had lower amounts of trans fat. Trans fat is the most dangerous type of fat. And these were really large differences in trans fat. In other words, people were more...
Did you say they had a large or low of trans fat?
That the people who had more cancer, more prostate cancer, in this one study that's being referred to, had low levels of trans fats. The trans fats are dangerous fats that cause cancer. We don't eat those things. They're outlawed. They're like margarines and Crisco oil that we don't even allow people to eat.
It's not part of the Nutritarian lifestyle. It's
not part of anyone's lifestyle. Dangerous fats. But though it showed those fats to be protective in that study, that the people with more trans fats in their blood had lower rates of cancer and less. And so we're saying that, well, that showed that people were improving their diet. They must have known they had something wrong with them, or else they had the PSA rise and had cancer. It was a one-time blood test. It didn't look at their diet over years. It didn't check their blood test over 20-year period. It was a totally bogus study. And it's one study out of 20 studies looking at this issue, and all the other 20 studies, whatever number, showed the opposite effect. So it shows you that people are grabbing onto one reason to say, well, maybe we shouldn't take that. But that's still almost irrelevant. It's an irrelevant point. The main point is that an unsupplemented vegan diet places people at risk of developing dementia and Parkinson's disease, but particularly dementia. I got into this field because my father was sickly, and he joined the natural hygiene community, which was headed by Herbert Shelton. And I used to go to these health conferences where people were eating all healthy natural foods and fruits and vegetables, even when I was in my teenage years. I've been doing this for years and years. And all my mentors, all the people I looked up to, and all these people eating a healthy diet, the majority of them either got demented or got Parkinson's which we know is linked to DH shrinkage of the brain. The most horrible thing can happen to you. What I'm saying is no risk of prostate cancer. It's completely fabricated risk. It's just fear. That is just being afraid of something that's not real. The study does not prove anything like that. It's one study. If you had an unbiased opinion, you would try to look at all the studies regarding this. No fear of developing prostate cancer. In fact, DHA deficiencies could increase risk of cancer. And even if high dose DHA did show a problem, nobody's recommending taking huge amounts of fish oil, recommending a preventative dose to prevent dementia. Likewise, every study that looked at DHA levels on omega-3 index, every study that looked at long-term levels in the blood of DHA index showed that lower levels are associated with cognitive impairment and brain shrinkage. Let me say that one more time.
Yes.
There's no study that showed that low levels of DHA, when they measured brain size or cognitive impairment, that low level was associated with better cognitive thoughts and protection against dementia and protection against maintaining brain volume. Low levels of DHA, better brain volume, that's utterly ridiculous, right? This stuff shouldn't be controversial. It's not even controversial at all. There's no controversies here. We know that adequacy of nutrients lead to more protection against disease like cancer and dementia. And deficiencies cause a problem, and excess cause a problem. Here we have a center point of where we have people who have good health, and we have deficiencies are problematic, and excesses are problematic. This is what is the hallmark of a nutritarian diet, is making sure we're not missing any particular nutrients. And I'm saying to you that if you live a long time, like one of my good buddies was Peter Max. He's still alive today. Very close friend of mine. I loved Peter Max. And he's severely demented now. He's following a vegan diet since his 20s, never knew he should take DHA. He always took B12. So many of these people. I was just I remember I had to once go to court and speak to the judge because these people for natural hygiene, this couple, both became demented in their 60s, eating so healthy. Why they become demented? I measured their blood tests, very low. I had to go before the judge because somebody stole their house away from them because they didn't have the mental processes to know that somebody was tricking them into selling their house at a very, very low price to them. And they lost out their house, and then they had to. I've been involved with this my whole life. I've been involved with seeing the problems in the vegan community for people who are still physically in great health, like Peter Max is today, but emotionally and mentally shot. And I have all the leaders, the leaders, Kiki Sidwa developed Parkinson's, Shelton developed Parkinson's, Virginia Vetrano, one of the leaders, developed dementia. Joy Gross just is still alive today, has dementia. All these people who I care about, and including so many of my patients who were, I was a doctor caring for this vegan community. I didn't know when I was young that DHA was important there, and I didn't know that these people would be hurt by it. When I saw that occurring in the middle sections of my career, I had to do something about this to stop this, and certainly wouldn't want to happen to me, myself, and the people I advise. Mm-hmm. But the attack from the community, from the vegan community, who want to think that a vegan diet is perfect the way it is, and we don't have to worry about anything, is overwhelmingly surprising. That there's not conservatism, caution. These populations never lived on vegan. We don't have populations that live on unsupplemented vegan diets for generations through human history. It's a new phenomenon. It's occurred the last, 50 years, and most people are vegans are switching to it. They should be told they need informed consent. It's the same way with medicine. People giving them bypass surgery and giving them, putting a stent in and not telling them they're better off without it. It's the same thing. We have these people are so enthusiastic and passionate about being a vegan that they want to deny there's any problem with this thing. And they want to support their own advice and their own advice they're giving people. So you have these different, what are called, different, groups. It's almost like political alignment where people are politically aligned with this person, politically aligned with that person. They have this belief or that belief. It shouldn't be a belief system. We should look at the data,
science,
do what's safest, and we should do and not take chances with people's brains, with people's lives.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So we're getting down to almost the end of the classroom. And for those of you who are listening on podcast, there's going to be a session after the class that is not recorded. So please join us at facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. Dr. Fuhrman, it's such a pleasure to be able to, this is our 5th year anniversary of the Dr. Fuhrman being in the classroom. And we are kicking off the year with Eat for Life. And it's a great year. It's going to be a great year of clarity. I do have a question about the DHA, but I'm going to wait till after we finish this podcast. Is there anything that you would like to say as we kick off the year before we sign off? We only have about a minute or so left.
Just that I'm excited too about the inroads that are possible this year, and that this is such a critical year with so many things happening in our country and with our planet, and eating health, taking care of your health, being a role model, and simultaneously protecting our planet, our climate, and making us able to survive into the future, and our children, grandchildren, future generations, and also have good health with good planet, good soil, and good climate is also so important. And we have to make the right choices and decisions this year to save the earth. It's not even just about ourselves. We have such powerful forces that are selfishly going to destroy the earth for future generations, and that has to be stopped.
It does. And I will join everybody that is for, peace and for helping and clearing out our land, and not against, but I'm for doing what it takes to live the life that we want. I want to again encourage all of you to share this podcast, share the video on Facebook, or later on it'll be on YouTube as well. But we're going to have our Teacher's Pet Conference right after the classroom. Dr. Fuhrman, it's always a pleasure. I love how you state in your book that we are the cure, that you are the cure. And so let's declare it, let's proclaim it for 2020 and beyond, Please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Joel Fuhrman wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
So, Dr. Fuhrman, we already have people that have pre-ordered. I'm so excited. Yes, we have some. Sue's pre-ordered the book. I know Victoria says she's pre-ordering the book. So everybody's saying, and Babette says, me too. So we are going to stand behind Dr. Fuhrman and support this and let everybody know. So Babette, you can get a copy of this video. You can go to my website at whenyouneedafriend.com, click onto my YouTube channel, subscribe there, and every time you'll see that when we come on or there's a new video, it'll display it. So this one will be displayed or published later on today. So Dr. Fuhrman, I have some questions for you that I didn't get to ask during the podcast, but I do want to continue with this DHA because it is, it's interesting how one group will say, oh, we have the evidence, it's not a big deal. And another group will say, we have the evidence. Clearly, we can go to pubmed.gov and read the evidence ourselves and make your own decision. That once you read the evidence, it's you can choose it to become your truth, not because somebody else told you to say it. But I have a question about DHA.
In order to see these studies that I'm supporting what I'm saying, they can go to the Dr. Fuhrman Eat to Live blog. They go to drfuhrman.com. It says e-learning, and under the e-learning tab is the Eat to Live blog. And it'll give a link to some videos I filmed there, YouTube videos, but mostly all the transcripts are there. And I have the Need for DHA in Vegans Part 1 and Part 2. And it shows all the studies and all the data so people can get the information they need. It's hard for people to know what to read at PubMed because every time they go to somebody, they're just going to show them they're just going to show them one-sided studies. You know what I mean? Not show them all the data.
So you show all the data. So I have a question about DHA. So I know that there's folate and there's folic. And you are like, nobody should have folic acid, that you should stay away from that.
Right.
Is there, and you know that there's synthetic vitamin E and there's natural vitamin E. We want to stay away from the synthetic vitamin E. Is there a synthetic DHA that could be skewing these reports?
No.
No? Okay.
No, but fish oil, but contaminated. First of all, there's no reporting that's being skewed because there's no data to show that it causes prostate cancer, even if you use fish oil. But we can have contaminated fish oil. Could be a factor. There are contaminants in fish oil, but it's not a factor unless. But we do have some evidence that high dose fish oil can be somewhat immunosuppressive, but not even a link in the medical literature between that and prostate cancer yet. So there's no risk there to using a tiny dose of a algae-based supplement. But it could be in the future that using high dose fish oils, but anyway, nobody's recommending that anyway, and there's no evidence of that even being harmful.
Okay, great. We're done with that. So if anybody has any questions, go see Dr. Fuhrman's blog and read it for yourself so that you're not repeating what anybody says. Make it your truth. Make it, you can read it yourself and you can say, okay, I read it myself. I'm tired of people just saying what they're saying.
You hear both sides, and there's a lot of, and one sounds sensible, the other person sounds sensible, out of reasoning on both sides. And you have a hard time making up your mind because both people are making a good argument. Then what? Well, look, you have to err on the side of caution and not chance you becoming demented and losing your brain later on in life. Come on here, we're talking about, that's not even living anymore. So in other words, one thing we learn in medicine is that we first do no harm, and we have to err on the side of caution and being conservative. And this is being radical. This low-fat radicalism is radical. There's no history of humans that ever lived that way, and we see brain shrinkage occur with low levels. So it's a radical viewpoint, nevertheless. But still, you err. If you're not quite sure, then don't take a chance.
Yes. Okay. I think that's great advice. So Patricia Romero, she says that if you're following the Nutritarian lifestyle and become 10 pounds underweight, is that really dangerous? and not healthy, because she's been following the Nutritarian lifestyle for 3 months and became 10 pounds overweight. But like the way
Overweight or underweight?
underweight, I'm sorry, underweight, sorry. Thank you for catching that. But she likes the way she looks. So she really, is it really necessary to gain the weight? Can you die from being underweight, eating a Nutritarian lifestyle 3 times a day until you are stuffed? And then she goes on to say that she does work out. She's 4'11", and she weighs between 90, 95 pounds, but now she's at 80 pounds is what I think I read earlier. And she says, I also work out on the treadmill almost every day, about 2.5 hours a day at an incline of 15 and a speed at 3.0. So it sounds like she's working out a lot, but perhaps not eating as much.
No, it sounds like she's over-exercising, which can be a form of anorexia. And there's no strict guidelines here that you follow advice that makes people get underweight. You have to adjust and modify a diet to your particular needs.
Mm-hmm.
And that means if you're a person who metabolizes calories fast, or you have a job where you have to do that much work, physical work, and need more calories, then you have to add more concentrated calories in your diet. So there's certain, modifications we make to the diet for people who have trouble losing weight. We may cut back on nuts a little bit more. We may cut back on the carbohydrates, give them more greens. In this case, we have to go the other way, give them more nuts. So, I don't recommend people eat oils, but some people, anorexics, have to put oil in their diet to get enough calories. They have to add, it's a way people gain weight. But what I'm saying right now is this person needs some personalized guidance to make sure that she gets her weight back to a safer level, which is probably at 4'11", you don't have to be over 100 pounds. Probably 90 pounds is enough at 4'11".
Yeah.
But in any case, she still sounds like she is about 10 pounds overweight, and she's over-exercising. She should stop doing the treadmill. She should do weight training exercises to make her muscles and bones bigger and stronger, because she's going to be osteoporotic being so thin. And she's over-exercising, doing too much cardio. Cut it all out completely until her weight comes back. She should not be doing cardio, which makes you lose weight for 2.5 hours a day. That's just while she's being overweight. She should stop that.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you do so much exercise, you require more food to accommodate the extra exercise. And the extra food isn't even good for you. It's better to exercise less and not have to eat so much. She's overdoing the exercise tremendously. And that's probably the main thing. Cut out the cardio, go to the gym and lift weights, eat more nuts and seeds, and eat more of the more calorically dense foods that we can add to your diet accordingly. And to make sure you're gaining it, you can't gain more than a few pounds a month anyway of muscle. Mm-hmm. We want you to make sure that you at least gain a little weight each week, or you're not doing. Your Nutritarian means you do what's best for you. You don't follow any precise program. It's not working for you. You modify it to make it work. If we have a kid who's a child following a vegan diet and not thriving and they're not growing right, then we give them eggs. We do whatever we have to do to make sure the person thrives. We don't have any rigid philosophy to hurt a person because they have to follow it exactly the way it's written for this person.
Correct. I love the flexibility of being a Nutritarian. And so people need to know that the moment we become married to, like, it has to be like this way or that way, one size does not fit all. And every single one of us has to look at, you could have the most perfect diet, but if your thoughts are negative and you're constantly belittling yourself inside in your brain, that's damaging too. So there's a spirit, mind, and body approach to health that is so important. And so that's what I love about Dr. Fuhrman. And there's a section in your book, Dr. Fuhrman, that I think we can do a whole class on. And it's called The 7 Most Important Dietary Steps to Prevent and Fight Cancer. So I would love, if it's okay, maybe next month that we come together, we can discuss those 7 tips that, because we need to be about prevention and knowing and taking our power back and reversing if there is a diagnosis. So what do you think about that one section that you talk about, the 7 dietary steps to fight cancer?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
I love it. And we're going to continue promoting this book. I'm glad Rob Lee says that he's a huge Dr. Fuhrman fan, and that, let me see, I can't, it's too small here. Thank you. And he loves the show. Thank you. Keep up the great work. And to see Dr. Fuhrman on again. It's so thank you so much, Rob. And thank you for everybody who's been on. The only way I can see that you're like all the people that are in the classroom, the only way I can see who you are is if you say, click send love, or do the like, or do it and share. That's how you say thank you and help us grow the classroom. Spread the good news, especially if you're just joining me because of Dr. Fuhrman. Let everybody who doesn't know about Dr. Fuhrman know that he is on. And one last question, Dr. Fuhrman, because I know that it's time for you to go because you've been working hard. And I love the fact that you are saying, you know what? I am going to live a normal life. I've done a lot, and now it's my turn to reap the benefits of my labor. And so the question, the what?
Normal amount of hours.
And get to sleep, because lack of sleep can hurt you as well.
That's right. I haven't been getting the right amount of sleep because I've been so busy. I've worked so hard the last 30 years. I got to start to sleep a normal amount of hours to protect my future health from here on in. You know what I mean?
That's right. We want you to be around for a long time, a long, long time. And so, I went off. I was going to ask you one more thing, and my brain just went foggy there. But I think I'll remember it. But Dr. Fuhrman. I'm looking to see if I can find it in my notes. There was one more thing that you had said that I wanted to go back. Another good class that we could do is the Q&A from your book, because that would be a great thing. And know that for those of you who are listening today, that you can always ask Dr. Fuhrman a question when he's in the classroom. So you can type in a Q and write your question down. And I'm getting so many emails, Dr. Fuhrman, during the time that you're gone, that that people are actually saying, can you ask this question? So it doesn't have to be right here, right now. It could be before. So let me see. We've got some more comments. There's just, so here's a question. Okay, Kyle wants to know what's your favorite music.
I like all kinds of music. I like, I don't know.
We had a lot of comments.
Styles. I like Imagine Dragons. I like the Chainsmokers. I like a lot of different. I like
really?
I like what's that person? Like all those. I like Mendez. I like Camila Cabello or something.
Mm-hmm.
I love her music. I like a lot of music, all kinds of music. There's a lot of great singers out there.
Yes, there are. We got lots of positive feedback, Dr. Fuhrman, when you were doing your top 10 you actually were driving in your car. It was a conversation with Dr. Fuhrman driving in his car. You pulled in, you continued doing the classroom. I love your dedication. Love, love, love your dedication. So Babette wants to know about the programs. And one of the things I wanted to say about Patricia Romero, that you have a way, if they go to drfuhrman.com, where they can ask you, they can become a member of Dr. Fuhrman. Would you like?
I think that's a good point. This person who was like borderline anorexic and too thin, she could get guidance from me directly through the internet by becoming a member of the drfuhrman.com, going there and becoming a member, because I have myself and Dr. Benson, we sit there every day and put hours in answering people's questions and helping them through issues like this. That's where we could broaden our expertise to help people. So somebody like that who's struggling, doing things wrong, and has questions, that's a perfect person who should become a member and communicate with us to make sure she doesn't stay at 80 pounds, if that's what she is,
Yes, that's what she's saying that she's at right now. So I remembered what I wanted to say, Dr. Fuhrman. I wanted to go back to the Okinawan diet and the Mediterranean diet and all these people that are in the blue zones. And, like you said, that many of these people are, every single one, they couldn't find anything that they had in common. All these blue zones, they couldn't find, some of them smoked, some of them drank, some of them ate, not the most desirable lifestyle or had the most desirable lifestyle. But what they did have in common, which I think happens more outside the United States, is because as they got older, they felt valued. I think loneliness, they did some studies that loneliness causes early premature death for more people. And so, building a community like you're doing at the Eat to Live retreat.
They had social networks. but they also had, all the blue zones have a reduction in animal products compared to America. They're all below 10% or lower. There's nobody eating 30% of animal products or more like in America. And there's no people eating paleo diets with 50 to 70%. So they're all low in animal products. They're all high in vegetables. And they're all areas of the world where they grow a large portion of their own plant food. They grow their own plant food and they grow it locally and they eat what they farmed. So that's all very, those are the most.
Yeah, those are some important things that, we can do.
Being connected with the earth and even sprouting some food in your house or growing some microgreens or sprouts on your own kitchen counter. I mean, all that's all I think valuable too.
Yes, very good. Well, Dr. Fuhrman, we're kicking off the year really well with your new book and your new baby. Let's show it one more time. We want to encourage all of you to go to Amazon.com, pre-order your book. When you pre-order your book, you can go to Dr. Fuhrman and let him know that you have a copy of the book, and they will send you all sorts of free gifts. And to help Dr. Fuhrman, this is his last book, according to what he's saying. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is his last book. But so let's make this one the best book ever. We're going to make it, we're going to manifest best-selling, New York Times best-selling book, right, Dr. Fuhrman?
That's the goal.
Okay. So thank you all for watching today. Please remember, Dr. Fuhrman will be back next month. You can always send me some emails. You can instant message me some questions, or you can write them. Just let me know. It's easier if you send them to me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. Send it to me there. That way I'm not searching all over for these questions. And of course, as always, you can be a student in the classroom and you can ask your own question. So until we meet again, Dr. Fuhrman, I'm looking forward to seeing you next month.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to the Facebook and to YouTube.